Hello, I am Chylli from channel Chylli, also known as Chai, and we are back for more Limbus company. Today we are beginning the new intervallo. So yeah, let's just get right into it here. Consultation session. No, wait, for this one we should go about it like... No, Heathcliff's been in the vanguard for too long. I should pull him back and let him... Dante. Oh, sorry, did you say something? I provided you an answer to your question, but you exhibited no observable response. Is the center's combat performance deteriorating beyond manageable parameters? No, things aren't that bad, but... It's just hard to focus on one conversation when I'm trying to support battles happening in completely different places at once. On top of that, Rhodia's shopping chatter is starting to get a little distracting. A few days after we entered Incorp's district, the bus pulled over in the back streets of Incorp to take care of a distortion case. This contract was supposed to be handled jointly with the LCD team, but distortion suddenly started cropping up all over an area of the back streets called Butter Street, without any coherent pattern. No obvious point of origin or route of spread, nothing convenient like that, and I had no choice but to split the sinners into several groups and send them out. Otis, Ishmael, Sinclair, Don Quixote, Yisong, and Merceau were on their way to Rendezvous with the LCD team. Heathcliff, Gregor, and Hong Lu were suppressing distortions that had shown up from other directions. And our on-board stock scraped down to the bottom, Rhodia and Ryoshu, who were done with their share of the suppression work and were put in charge of buying supplies for the boss. As for Faust, she decided to stay behind with me on the bus. I wanted to get through the consultation sessions I'd been putting off and thought I might as well get myself some much-needed practice with handling the new golden bow power I had acquired. To reiterate, there are no issues requiring special concern regarding Faust. It is true that Faust has, on several recent occasions, expressed dissatisfaction with a certain Faust. However, those instances should be classified as a mere personal grievance. I mean, that's good if that's all there is to it, but this was not the first time Faust had seemed unlike herself. There had been times before when she spent far longer alone than usual, lost in thought. Moments when she could not produce immediate answers to questions from the other sinners, or me. Could it be you can't access the Gesellschaft? I do not know how to pronounce that. Gesellschaft, I presume. May I ask your basis for that inference? Because you're acting a lot like you did back on the warp train. It appears there remain occasions on which you are still capable of surprising Faust, Dante. I was right, you really are cut off from the Gesellschaft. It was not intended as a confirmation of your conjecture. Maybe she's saying that while she can't technically access the Gesellschaft, it may as well be that she can. I wish I could ask more and get to the bottom of it, but the way she was sidestepping the subject told me prying wouldn't give me any further insight. Right, I won't press you if you don't want to talk about it. Your reserve is appreciated. Shall we move on? Yes, your consultation is the next agenda. After cross-referencing the records pertaining to the recent events at the House of Spiders, it would appear that memories concerning the individuals designated as Sora and Ren currently remain only with you, Dante. As such, should the influence of Ryoshu and her sword lead to further omissions in the official records, the manager will be responsible for supplementing the necessary information. Yeah, not the first time. I was the only one left with intact memories. That's right. Despite K-Corp's memory wipe procedure, Catherine's erasure by the Golden Bow's power, and Aryashiki severing people from existence, I was the only one who remembered what had transpired. But ironically enough, the memories I had prior to swapping my head with the clock still showed no sign of returning. Why won't my old memories come back though? Is it because of the clock head? Speculation based on your experience with the bus team thus far will not meaningfully contribute to the recovery of your former memories, manager. Inductive reasoning conducted from memories with gaps, after all, is bound to have structural limitations. Bongi would serve as an adequate analogy. Bongi? Yes, Bongi. Receiving feed and increasing in body mass alone would provide it with no meaningful basis for identifying the purpose of its rearing. Even at the terminal stage, when exposed to kitchen instruments in the heat of the stove, its limited experience would prove inadequate to constitute an understanding of its ultimate fate and purpose. Likewise, the ultimate answer to your doubts can only be obtained from the whole of the experience that you will have accumulated at the terminus of your entire journey. That is, your allotted mission. Because treasure awaits at the end of the road, at the end of hell. And that treasure will give me back my memories and my head. Also. Indeed, at the end of the road, you will be able to engrave your aspect. I still have no idea exactly what aspect means, or even whether it's an object, but if I know one thing, it's that the me from before all this began had wanted it badly, obsessively, desperately. It's more like an instinctive knowledge, but with my memories gone, that feeling, however strong it is, does not change the fact that it's just another word with no discernible mental image. And you're not going to tell me what exactly it is, are you? The aspect. What it means, or why I wanted it so much. There remains a piece of information that must be disclosed to you, that now I am unable to tell you. Pay it no mind, you are still following your star acceptably. Please concentrate on the journey. More importantly, have you grown accustomed to the incomplete power? Current observation suggests you have yet to arrive at the level. Well, I've gotten pretty used to focusing on one place at a time, but keeping track of several places at once is still a bit rough. Otis's team is doing well in combat, even without my direct supervision, and Rhodia's team is shopping and not engaged in battle at the moment. Taking my mind off them would prove much easier. But that wouldn't give me the much needed practice, so I'm doing my best to keep an eye on every center status. Sufficient familiarity should result in substantial tactical value. You would be able to cast a wider net when information gathering and employ previously unavailable tactical patterns. Right, and I'd also be able to tell when it's a bad time to call someone in, too. Even as I continue talking with Faust, I make sure not to stop observing the places where each group is and what they're doing. Yep, pulling Heathcliff to the rear was the right call. I don't see any injuries. His team's still doing pretty well, even without my directions. As for Rhodia, wait, did she just stuff all the pastries and bread she bought into her pockets? How did she manage that with a huge baguette? And Otis's group, let's see. Looks like they joined up with the LCD team without any issues. LCD? Then that guy over there must be... Hang on. Faust, there's a dude I've never seen before, but he seems a bit different from what I remember. Could you specify the issue? I'm monitoring the situation right now. We should probably join up with them too. Let's end the consultation here. This is rather precipitous, Dante. If the incident is of a serious nature, or perhaps a request for support from the LCC... No, it's not an incident. Though I wouldn't say it's not serious. Alrighty, I wonder how long this intervallo is. These loading screens are really annoying, genuinely. Sometimes they take so long. This is going from bad to worse, really. Dante seems to be tied up helping the other groups. Otis's command calls have been working out well enough, I'll give her that. We managed to hold the line better than expected, but we're definitely starting to feel the strain. Why are you waving your hand all of, arm and hand signals? What, signals? What's swinging the arm sideways even supposed to mean? You don't know? It's scatter, damn it, so scatter. That was close, we almost got flattened. Damn it, even rookies with nothing but the most rudimentary of military training would have recognized a hand signal that basic. Well, we're not all trained soldiers here, are we? Verily, the flourish of a single hand doth indeed make boast of a chivalric elegance. Yet when thou suddenly wavest thine arm around, clenching and unclenching thy hand in that mystical fashion, only to suddenly turn tail, forsooth, I am left bereft of understanding what thou meanest to say. I hate reading Dawn dialogue. It is so... extra. To think that the personnel in the team, only the Suave has the discipline to interpret a basic field signal. I only picked it up during my sailing days, and realistically speaking, did you really expect ordinary people like the others to understand professional military signals? This is unacceptable. After all the operations all of you have been deployed under my lead, you're all still ignorant when it comes to nonverbal signals. I don't think even Dante would know those signals. Yep, might as well be splitting hairs, literally. Let us appease our agitated hearts and follow Miss Otis's instructions. We should disperse and withdraw. Megaton landing. Pretty cool, huh? Let's face it. I know how to make one heck of an entrance. Whoa, aren't you supposed to be cleaning up the distortions upstairs? Oh, finito, a million years ago. You guys were taking forever, so I figured I'd take a peek and lend a hand. You're welcome. Split by your thundering descent, and the floor's form and shape are now crushed beyond mending, sunken deep enough to be likened to the incipience of a wellspring. Don't you worry your head about it. After all, that's all after teams to take care of. Anyway, that should be all of them, right? The force of your landing neutralized the last of the distortions outside of the building. Great, can you check on the distorted peeps' faces and clothes? Their faces are all segmented, makes my skin crawl, not a pleasant sight. As for their attire, this one appeareth to be a sweeper, and that one yonder bears the attire of an ordinary fixer. And this distortion I landed on, probably a local resident judging by the clothes. Did any of you happen to see anything nearby bursting with a big pop and flash? Nay, not once. Okie dokie, you know what? Then let's all head upstairs. This suppression request is kind of a pain. We need to put together a nice, neat plan before we start poking it too hard. A plan, sayest thou? How? Was this not a matter of Was this not a mere matter of slaying distortions where they stand? Wait, did no one brief you? This has often been the structure of our assignments. We were given instructions, we performed them, and only afterward do we begin to perceive the nature and contour of the task to which we have committed our hands. Really? Well, guess every department has its own way of doing things. No big deal, I'll explain everything once we're upstairs. Oh, by the way, you didn't get to meet the whole team last time, did you? Only our new girl. This time, that dude, Mr. Bamboo-Hatted Kim's also here, so... He's okay now? Sure he is. You'll be surprised once you see just how okay he is now. But last time you said he was still under treatment. To be precise, I believe, miss. Engdu stated that his mind is yet to regain its former tranquility. Oh, that? You'll get it once you see him. I feel like we'll just end up having the same conversation twice if I say anything about it now. Ah, you've arrived. It's blinding. It's so bright, the midday sun is pouring in like crazy. Yet the warm trickle of the sunbeam is rather agreeable. No, this is not sunlight. Because unlike this, there is more to the sunshine than its warmth. And what exactly is this light? Why is this thing on again? It's bright enough to fry my eyeballs. Apologies, Lady Ezra. I am yet to be accustomed with a machine. This is my first time laying a hand upon the complicated workings of such a contraption. It activated of its own accord, and I have yet to discover the method by which it may be silenced. That's why I told you to leave it alone. Fiddling with things you don't understand usually ends with something, or you, broken. Nothing good comes of it, I tell you. But Mentor, Lady Moses has instructed me that in every moment and event, clues are hidden under the veil of one's surroundings, and must be examined with care. Yes, and that only works if you're savvy about the knack. Hang on, did you just say Mentor? I had not yet been afforded a proper opportunity to introduce him to you. This here is the esteemed leader of the Blade lineage, who is all but a master under whom I have apprenticed. Do you really have to dress it up like that? I told you, I only took the role because there wasn't anyone else around to take the job. Switch, where's the switch? Aha, gotcha. Goodness. Known as Bamboo-Hatted Kim. Yes, that's me. Guess I should say pleased to meet you, folks. My throat's already getting sore. This is not a good telling for the future. Okay, so... More often than not, first impressions are prone to change. The Bamboo-Hatted Kim I remember was a man who drowned in his own fathoms, blaming himself for his powerlessness with a listless, heavy voice. That, however, had been while he was distorted and sunk into himself, so I figured his original personality might be somewhat different. But this is not just somewhat. His personality isn't even in the same ballpark as my expectations. You're telling me this guy here is Bamboo-Hatted Kim? Yeah, we double-checked with Ezra, and she said he really is the same guy. Whoa, that fire on your head's not hot at all. Fascinating stuff. Okay, can we check again, just in case? I really can't wrap my head around the fact that this is the sole and serious man who we fought. Just look at what he's doing. He's rubbing my face all over like he's checking out some kind of mantelpiece ornament. Lots of ticking and talking going on. That's supposed to sound like them talking to you folks? Further confirmation would be redundant, Dante. This individual is conclusively identical to the one designated as Bamboo-Hatted Kim. I've got no idea what you folks are so suspicious about. Angdu, just what exactly have you been telling people out there about me? They're all staring like they've seen a ghost. I told them you're a gallant and formidable warrior, Mentor. But they don't look like they've heard the most flattering things about me. There, don't you hear it? The faint undercurrent of disappointment and the taking. I also told them that you're a man of few words, but with much affection for the followers under your command. Angdu. Yes, Mentor? That's a complete and utter lie. Man of few words is definitely not something you can say about a guy who's as talkative as me, don't you think? Yet I spoke no falsehood. Although your conduct is rather shallow and perhaps less refined for a leader of an organization, you are much more reserved and taciturn when conversing with those unfamiliar to you, are you not? No matter who one may be, one is bound to inspire either approval or disapproval from those around him, so I refrain from mentioning any truths that might invite the latter. To even hint at something that might tarnish the reputation of my master would not be unlike spitting on his name, and mine by extension. I simply had no reason to put on airs in front of my own folks, in any case. So you can't see anything if I block this part. Do tell, how many fingers am I holding up? Those are not my eyes, you know. Your own folks, huh? Then you have already acknowledged and accepted that you now belong to Limbus Company. Why didst thou not pay a visit to the LCE? Verily, when one's mind is plagued by the absence of tranquility, venturing forth into the open air and touchable field of grass cleareth the storm of the heart. An asset of the company is expected to act in the company's interest, yet for whatever reason, I didn't see you fighting on the field of battle during Operation Spider-Pyre. You will have to account for your absence in the mission. Otis addressed Kim as though she were conducting a formal investigation. Every word flat and hard. It was obvious she was not about to let her guard down anytime soon. What mission? Oh, that one. Kim finally seemed inclined to assume a more serious disposition. He stopped peering into my face and turned toward Otis, although his hand was still on my head. Alright, clearly there's some disconnect in expectations here. Listen here, you. I'm really not all that about a hard, bothersome work, get what I mean? The real disconnect was between his stoic expression and the words coming out of his mouth. So let's talk about the kind of fellow I am. Me, the resident layabout who's forced to do his job with a frown too, I might add. Only when he's got absolutely no other choice. I'm really not some big shot Hangdu apparently has been promoting me as, folks. And I'd very much like to stop getting roped into stuff that keeps putting my life on the line. Fine, then why did you join the LCD in the first place if you'd rather be unemployed? No, never mind. They probably forced you to stay. You catch on quick. First they spout this nonsense about distortions and all, and then force hired me, calling me a company-owned resource or whatever. And then the other day, they were again on about... what's its name? Golden Bow? Yes, they invited me on a tour to another department to listen in on some important presentation. And I accepted. I thought it would be a fine opportunity to broaden my perspective. Angdu, dear, there are times when your commitment to duty shines brighter than the sun. I find that attitude so dazzling that I have to squint when I'm looking at you. Who knows, maybe that's why I'm wearing this bamboo hat, to shade my eyes from your utter brilliance. Didn't mean to say that you are in need of a shade to protect your eyes. Lady Ezra, might I submit a request for a pair of sunglasses for my mentor? Only if it's not too much of an imposition. On the budget, that is. That right there. That's what I keep telling you not to do. You can't just say yes to every silly thing he says and turn it into a supply request. Small expenses add up to a lot, you know. You gotta save up everything you can in the piggy bank when you still can, or you're gonna end up broke. Is there truly no room for reconsideration? No means no. Then pray, make the purchase for me. I shall cover the cost myself. No can do— Wait, what? My poor mentor is in a state of great discomfort, yet I possess neither the wisdom nor the knowledge to navigate the silver tongue of merchants, and the maze of stalls to locate the very best item. So I must beg this favor of you. You're giving me a frickin' headache, girl. I am aware that you and yours are no stranger to these dealings. There's no one else I can trust to complete such a procurement with the swiftness of the wind. You know what? Never mind what I said. I'll just get you what you want. You heard the gentle lady, mentor. Your suffering shall soon be alleviated. Right. My apologies for interrupting you in mid-conversation. Pray, continue. You had reached the part where they invited you to tour another department. No sooner Hangdu's words left her lips than her eyes glinted with something I couldn't really put my finger on. But it was a strange intensity that sent a chill down my spine. Yeah, so that day I was just gonna relax here and watch some TV. Good on you for showing up to work today, I guess. Let's say there's a debt to be repaid. At least you understand that we are indeed indebted to the company. Yeah, I suppose I do. Kim's gaze lingered on Hangdu's prosthetic arms as he answered. Oh, Miss Hangdu, your arms. Only after following Kim's gaze did Sinclair seem to notice Hangdu's brand new prosthetic arms. The last time we saw her, Hangdu had lost both of her arms, and I remember Ezra asking her to sit tight and choose the type of prosthesis she wanted. Those arms are probably it. It's not just the arms, even her clothes are different now, and that sword. I had these arms fitted and new as soon as the operation was concluded. The gracious hosts and one of the LCD's teams had prepared them in advance. With evident satisfaction, Hangdu held up her metallic wrist as if to showcase them. The components fixed along her arm clicked and rattled, unfolding for a moment before neatly folding back into place. Such graceful smoothness, wed to a machine articulation. 'Tis as though I am beholding the marvelous prosthesis of the illustrious Siegfried himself. Yep, the showcase would have gone lackluster without that trademarked reaction. These are strikingly similar to Wars Industries' N7 lineup, but I thought that model was discontinued. No, not theirs. It's one of the prototypes developed by LCD's Phenomenon deciphering team, and they put them on her for trial. Now you'll find another like them. They're based on technology spun from distortions. Oh, I see. For a brief moment, Sinclair's eyes lit up as if he had glanced something that brought him back to a memory. Then just as quickly, he fell silent, whatever he'd wanted to say next catching up in his chest. Does something trouble you, Mr. Sinclair? It wasn't hard to understand what struck the tender memory for Sinclair and why it cast a shadow over his face. But sorry, just reminded me of something from a long time ago. My dad used to work on prosthetics before he passed away. I thought this was the exact same model I saw back then. It appears I lacked tact. These arms have stirred a painful memory within you. For that I apologize. It's alright, I'm fine now. Sinclair's voice still carried a faint tremor, but beneath it, there was a firmness that had not been there before. He really had grown a great deal. You can thank yours truly for picking the sword. I was there with her. I did inform Lady Ezra that any blade that could serve as a weapon would suffice, but she insisted on browsing the goods. I dare say I was given the opportunity to lay my eyes on every type of sword I could ever hope to see in this life, walking through the workshop street that day. Oh please, girl, we walked for just 4 hours, that's nothing. While everyone was distracted, taking in Engdu's new outfit and equipment, Kim had quietly slipped away from the crowd and crouched down in a corner. He was rummaging through things scattered on the floor, picking them up. Is he pocketing them? Anyway, what is this place supposed to be? What are all these things? It's basically a wreck now, but there are strobes and that cloth backdrop over there. Maybe it used to be his photo studio. Oh, that could explain why there are so many photos stuck around the place. Probably. This thing definitely looks like a camera, at least. Sinclair picked up a small cylindrical object and turned it over in his hand, stunning it with curiosity. What do you suppose this is? A battery, maybe? There's some kind of strip inside. Let me pull it out. No, that's... Otis shouted a sharp warning at Sinclair as if she had realized something. But Marceau's hand shot out before she could even finish, clasping over Sinclair's wrist before the strip could be pulled out. What? What did I do? Exposure to sunlight damages these objects. I already pulled a little bit out, though. It can be rewound. Carefully rotate the rigid section of the cylinder. And currently blocking the sunlight from reaching the exposed section. Damage is of no concern. Okay, you mean this one, right? This is the part that rotates? Yeah, it went back in. With a quiet nod, Marceau took the object from Sinclair's hand. It seems to be a film roll. There's something written on the outside. Experiment number 4. It appears to be a compact roll for a film camera. You seem to have handled one before. Yes. Marceau's answer came without any further explanation, but the way he adjusted the camera on the table certainly didn't look like that of a first-timer. I once received a report containing photographs taken on film cameras during the war. Film rolls used by N-Corp are particularly difficult to falsify. They were used to collect intelligence during secret operations. The film fixes light directly onto the medium, from what I've heard. A peculiar expression flashed on Ezra's face as she regarded Otis. Perhaps it was the mention of war that caught her attention. Anyway, we managed to regroup in one piece. Let's come up with a plan to deal with these distortions, guys. Where should we begin? Then in the next breath, she returned to her usual bubbly self and steered the conversation away from the subject. Both Ezra and I, we're both still trying to be free of the misconception we inflicted on ourselves. For all her unfailing perky disposition, Ezra too may be carrying traumatic memories, every bit as devastating as Gregor's. Does there yet remain aught deserving illumination? Yeah, wait, you're right. Haven't we cleared up the distortion already? I couldn't feel any more traces of distortion nearby, and it didn't seem like any of the other Sinner teams anywhere were actively engaged in battle at the moment either. Dante is asking whether the distortion suppression has not, in fact, already been concluded. Oh, not yet. These people we fought just now, they only got caught up in the distortion. They didn't actually distort themselves. They haven't even gotten close to the distortion's inflection point yet. Inflection point. Anywho, finding an inflection point without the team leader around is gonna take some time. Maybe it won't be too bad with your help. Ezra swept her eyes around the room with a look of frustration, as though she had just been handed a puzzle box with half the pieces missing. By inflection point, are you referring to the point on a graph in which the directionality of its curvature changes? Calling to mind the present context, it may be less of a mathematical term and more of a specialized policy, referring to the point at which distortion occurs, the motive, intent, or indeed, the point at which inflection of the mind occurs. Yeah, that's about right. That's the kind of inflection point I was talking about. So in our department, we use that term to mean the source of a distortion, the inflector or cause behind it, stuff like that. You know, distortion's hard to treat if you don't know the core cause. Treat the symptoms you see on the surface all you like, but if you never find the root cause, the distortion's never getting solved. So I guess you guys never really had to look for that kind of stuff. Your boss clock opens a door into their fathoms or whatever, right? You mean the Dungeon of the Fathoms. Yeah, that's the one. From where we're standing, distortions are really high maintenance, time-consuming headaches. It's one thing to somehow manage to locate the inflection point, but curing it is another thing. But you guys can just march straight into someone's heart, knock the snot out of everything in there, and then ta-da! Patient ready for discharge. That's how it works, right? Not gonna lie, I was so jealous when I heard about it, I almost bit my sleeve off. Verily, I had thought your team would set up about resolving distortions once the foe was vanquished, as we are wont to do. Was that not so? Of course not. Why would anyone come to us with a distortion suppression request if it were that simple in the first place? But yeah, most of the time, P-Stripe brute force approaches to it first, and when things go south, they send requests to the company, or to our detective's office. That means the client this time must have been... Bingo. Apparently, the residents of Butter Street have all chipped in to commission all sorts of agencies, like the ZWI and the Combat Specialized Fixer offices. But none of them could actually do things right, and the job got passed on to us. Meaning the distortion phenomenon related to this kind of photograph is still occurring unchecked somewhere on the streets. Exactly, that's why we gotta find something, anything that might be a clue. Ezra gazed down at the people lying on the floor with a complicated expression. Neat ash-gray suits and the logo on the collar of the uniform and briefcases. Hey, isn't that InCorp's logo? Come to think of it, wasn't Merceau. I was once employed by InCorp. You used to work with those people. Yeah, he did mention he used to work at InCorp. Maybe he can offer us some insight. Do you know who these guys are, Merceau? Yes, manager. These are InCorp Class 2 staff members. Given the camera briefcases in their possession, they are likely members of the pinframe team of Service Day Clow. I cannot speak French at all. Merceau recited the information as though he were pulling it from a file he had already sorted and placed on the back of the shelf in his mind. Okay, pinframe team. Anything you can tell us about them? Yes, it is one of InCorp's many field departments related to information gathering and processing. Their primary duties include the handling of InCorp's internal information, analysis of InCorp's internal intelligence, the sorting and arranging of InCorp's internal information, and intersector. That'd be enough. Whoa, is he a talking encyclopedia or something? Yeah, that's another thing to be jealous of. You think it'd be okay if we borrow him sometimes? Might be an issue for us if you just went and borrowed our team's encyclopedia. Looks like everyone agrees that he's an encyclopedia. Anyway, your encyclopedia's right. They're from InCorp's pinframe team. Seen them a few times before in InCorp's nest. But why would people already busy enough dealing with nest affairs come all the way out to a shabby backstreet like this? Got any guesses? I am unable to determine that. The possible range of connection between the two pieces of information is exceedingly broad. Listing every relevant reason as to why they might have come out here would require a considerable amount of time. Therefore, I will not present a determinative answer to that question. Ezra, staring holes into me with an unspoken, "Is this dude always like this?" wouldn't pull any answers from me, you know. Because aside from combat situations, I've still got no way to figure out what's going on in his head. Okay then, Merso, maybe this'll be easier to answer from an objective point of view. And that was when I noticed something I'd never imagined would have happened. Merso's eyes widened, his gaze fixing me with such force that I could almost feel the faint tremor in it. A leveling stare that came within. There is no such thing as an objective point of view, manager. A clipped tone and a look almost bordering on rebuke. A given judgment would seem infinitely close to objectivity, but ultimately, all things are subjective, without exception. I fell silent for a moment, lost in thought. Part of it was because Merceau's reaction had caught me off guard, but I also wondered whether this response might be connected to why he would always refuse to make judgments for himself. And if this has something to do with his turn, which I know is just around the corner. Got it, then tell me 3 subjective reasons you think are most likely for why these people had to come all the way into the back streets. I need to understand who he actually is as much as I can. Because I'll never know when I get another chance to really get to know him if I brush this off as a simple, "Oh, I see, my bad," as usual. Yes, manager. I would presume their mission was one or all of the following: retrieval of a video recording or recordings in violation of in-course taboo, prompt elimination of the violator, contact with an informant in the backstreets collaborating with in-corpse Nest, or identification and arrest of a wanted individual or individuals designated by the Nest. Taboo? You mean these people could be taboo hunters? Nah, no way. They don't send out taboo hunters for every single violation, you know. Wings usually leave minor taboo violations to be handled by subcontracted fixer offices, or employees of the department in charge. I'd say these guys here are Ancorp staff. Miss Aindu, what are you looking for in their pockets? I'm looking through their belongings for enlightening clues yet to be hidden in the sleeves or folds of their garments. Lady Moses has always been gifted with the art of discerning the truth from what lies before her, but with but a single glance, yet my eyes are foreign to such a feat. Let me take a look too. This is an employee card, and okay, this one's a wallet. But let's put that back, we don't want to be robbers. This might be it. It's an order missive. Ezra pulled a sheet of paper from an Ancorp staff's coat and reads its contents aloud. Work details: elimination of the individual of a Category 3 taboo violation. Address Butter Street. This is the place. Which means all of this might be pointing to something. Whoever used to work in the studio and the distortion phenomenon might be connected. Now that you mention it, when the whole pop and change thing happened, it did kinda feel like a camera flash. Alright, let's start by combing through this place. Let me know if you find anything suspicious. At long last, half the hour arrived for my debut as a detective, forsooth. Don Quixote must have been miffed for not getting to play detective back in T-Corp. No idea where she'd been keeping them, but she immediately pulled out the detective props that been given to Rhodia Ryoshu and Hong Lu back then. Verily, I had foreseen that the day would come. Fortunately, Otis wasted no time putting an end to Don Quixote's badly timed shenanigan. A sharp dressing down from her was enough to make our dejected, chivalric adventurer stuff the costume away. Okay then, we should get moving too. Alright, it's a little early, but like I said, my throat's kinda going through it right now, so I'm going to end it here for now. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and next time we will be back to continue with more of the intervallo, and actually get into some combat finally. But yeah, until then, bye!